Hello everyone, it's Georgia down in Australia, and today's video comes with a bit of a music soundtrack. There is some kind of festival going on in the area across the road from my house, so you may hear some background music. I was woken up this morning by the sound of really big drums. Boom, 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 wake up. Okay, so that's the explanation if you hear anything going on in the background. Now, today's video is going to be one of those few birds with one stone kind of thing. This is going to be an early release Patreon video for my Panic Room patrons who are joining in this month's My Easter Basket Challenge. It's also going to be my Easter Sunday page, which I have not yet journaled. And it's going to be, more importantly, my getting back into Bible arting and getting my mojo back kind of thing, because I have not been Bible arting for a while and I've kind of lost all my inspiration for everything really. So this is going to be it. Now I'm just going to put a book under here to make this nice and flat. Now I have chosen the narration at the end of Mark's Gospel. There's a few reasons for that. I won't go into them right now. And if you know me, you know that normally I would mask off maybe a line out of the whole page and then cover the whole thing. But today I'm doing something slightly different for me. I want to mask off this entire resurrection of Jesus verse, or chapter even, sorry, half chapter, because it does go over the page. Let's ignore this. This is a whole topic of conversation in God's Refrigerator, my Facebook group at the moment. I sort of noticed this for the first time, the shorter ending of Mark. This is news to me, but hey, it does go over the page, but I just want this first half. So I'm going to mask it off as a block. And as usual, I'm just ripping my tape. I don't often do nice, neat edges. But you know what, today I actually might neaten it up a bit. Simply because I don't actually know how I'm going to treat this square or this block here. I don't know if I'm just going to leave it as a blank piece of text in the center of the arted page, or if I'm going to do something around it, a border or something. I haven't planned that far ahead. I planned a little bit, but I don't know what I'm doing with this. And for now, I'm not going to cover the center because what I'm doing is quite controlled. So I'll know that when I see this edging, don't go over it, don't paint into the center. We'll see how that goes, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do something a little bit different, or maybe, don't take this wrongly, but not so cliched. So I'm not going to do a picture of the empty tomb, all the sorts of things that we normally illustrate. I'm going along with my Easter basket theme, which is kind of a gardening theme for me. And so I wanted to just like some flowers. I just want to make a really pretty page with flowers. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm just drawing at the moment, and I'm doing a sort of, I won't say semicircle, quarter circle. So this is like the center of a flower. I'm going to do quite big flowers here. And so I'm doing a big petal. Actually, that's a tiny bit too big. Tiny bit too big, because I want writing down here. See, this is why I started with pencil today. I haven't done this in ages. I'm kind of nervous and unsure and don't really know what I'm doing. And so I'm going to draw my petals, and even though I'm aware of the fact that I can't go painting inside this square, I'm half sketching over it just to give myself a vision of what the petals look like when they're all here, even though I won't paint the actual inside part there. And I am spacing them out because then in between I will draw another set of petals. So I've sort of got two layers going on. So that's the one in the corner here. So really, really simple. And then I'm going to put one up the top. Pull this down a bit for you. And I might have it up here. So here I am doing a semicircle. So I'm having my flowers kind of off the page. And here I'll do some bigger petals coming down onto the page. So that's kind of my starting point for this page. A couple of really big flowers, and I will add to that as I go. Once again, inside or underneath petals as well as the big top ones that I've drawn. Okay, so 2 big flowers, that's the start of my page. Now at this point, I don't know what colour I'm going to paint the petals, so I'm just going to start by painting the inside of the flowers, the centre of the flowers. I'm just getting a bit of yellow and a little bit of orange. And I'll start with the top one simply because if I start with the bottom one, I'll end up putting my arm on it. And I do have a piece of paper underneath my page so the paint does not go onto the next page. And you really don't need me to tell you how to colour in. I'm just giving a layer of yellow to start with. I'm going to come back because, as you can see, my yellow is kind of translucent-ish. And I can see the words through, and I don't really want to see these words. I want all my focus to be on the resurrection verse, or verses. So I'll leave that for a second. I will come back to it. I'll come down to my bottom flower. Just do the same here. I'm actually laying it on a lot thicker down here. I'm actually thinking, see, this is how my process goes. I sort of start doing one thing and I sort of have an idea along the way and things change. And as I accidentally put on way too much paint on this little bit here, I thought, oh, this is actually kind of cool if I make it really textured. So I'm putting heaps of paint. I know that means it's going to take a lot longer to dry, but it's going to be kind of a nice, fun look. So I'm putting lots and lots of paint and kind of dabbing it up and down with my brush to give it that texture look. And now I'm going back to the top, and I'll be very careful not to put my arm on this. I'm going to do the same up here. Oops, I'll even let you see. So I'm just dabbing lots and lots of paint onto the center of my flower, adding some orange, lots and lots of yellow. Sort of, I'm kind of blending them together as I dab away. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. You might like a nice, flat, even look. But if you want to try something different. Okay, now this means that it will take a while to dry. I don't want to do the petals until they are dry. So I'll just leave this here for a while and then I'll come back to it. Okay, so we're painting the petals now, and this is the next day. I actually had a bit of fun and posted a call out in my Facebook group and on my Patreon asking people to tell me what colour I should do these flower petals and whether we should go with pinks or blues. And as it turns out, the pinks have won. So I'm going with pink petals, and I'm just putting a few different shades of pink on my palette to begin with. And I'm going to start with that top flower so that once again I don't put my arm over the flower that's painted if I start at the bottom. Don't know if that actually made any sense then, what I just said. And roughly painting those petals, I am going to go over it with a second layer because, as you can see, once again, kind of translucent paint. I can see the words through it, and I don't mind seeing the words a little bit to just give that sense of this is a Bible page that I've painted on, and you can sort of see the text underneath it, but I don't want it to show quite as darkly as that. Now I'm only painting those big top petals at the moment. So once they're all done, I come around with my second layer, and this time I'm going to add a little bit of highlighting and interest, as I like to say. So I'm just putting a little bit of the darker pink in there and blending it through, a tiny bit of the lighter pink. So I'm just Just giving the petals more of a real look rather than just that flat one colour. I'm keeping the darker pink for those petals that are at the back. It's a very simple process. Just paint your petal, then add a little bit of a slightly darker shade close to the centre, blend it out, then either white or a very, very light shade of that colour, and just add some little sort of blended lines here and there, kind of suggesting the light hitting the petals. And then I'm using my much darker, it's almost a purple, it's like a fuchsia colour, to colour the petals that are in the back, or the bottom layer. And as I'm doing that, I'm going, oh, this is way, way, way too different to the top petals. I'm not liking that very much, so I'm just going to add a little bit of the light pink to it. Just tone that down a bit. And of course you could do this in whatever colour you like. There's never any right or wrong here. See, as I'm going through, I'm actually changing my mind, and I'm bringing in that darker pink that I had at the inner part of these petals, and I'm sort of colouring a lot of that with that pink. I kind of prefer that. I think the fuchsia is a little bit too purple for my liking. And I do realise that I'm being kind of messy and outside the lines, but that's kind of the look that I'm going for. Okay, and then once I've done that flower, I'm just adding some more little lines here to the lighter petals, just to kind of bring them all together. Oops. And once I've done that, I'll just move on and do the bottom flower in the same way. And remembering the whole time not to cross this washi tape, because the center of this block is the writing that I want to keep clear to be able to see. So once I've done all that, I just give it a bit of time to dry. Now I'm not quite finished with these flowers yet, but before I continue with them, I just want to do something with this. I wasn't quite happy with what I was doing and with this blank space here, even though I know that I'm going to have my big title writing across here. I was looking at this and thinking, well, I really want to focus on the resurrection narration, and I've got this big burial of Jesus part here that's really visible, and I kind of want that to disappear a little bit. So you know those moments when you don't quite know what you're going to do, but you go to bed with obviously a problem in your head, even if you don't realize it, and you just need your subconscious to have a little bit of think about it. So I sort of woke up this morning with this idea, and I thought, okay, this is what I might do. So I've taken my washi tape away that was marking off this block, and I've grabbed my fossilized amber distress ink. I did think of using gold ink, but no, my gold ink is not that pretty. And I'm going to just roughly, because I'm going to do something else, I'm going to roughly, first of all, just kind of rub my ink dabber all the way around the verse. Not going over that flower very much though. And then I'm going to just kind of drag the ink away from the verse so I have a sort of a burst of light kind of thing happening. Now, if you don't have inks to do this with, you could easily do it with paint, with coloured pencil, with Crayolas. Looking at you, Donna. Anything that you like to use, because if it's something that you enjoy using, then you know how to control it and you know how to get different effects with it. So it's not quite what I was going for just yet, but that's okay. And now with my gold paint, I am grabbing this Sunburst shaped stencil by Tim Holtz. I don't know what it's called. It's number 116. The name's not on it though, and I can't remember what the name was. And I'm getting some gold paint here. Not sure how this is going to go. Completely making this up as I go along. And with my palette knife, I am going to just scrape that paint along the stencil, hoping to get that kind of burst effect. And I'm kind of going very lightly because I don't want to fill the entire space. I want sort of little bits and pieces of the burst, but I don't want that very, very solid shape that the stencil has. And strangely enough, it is a lot more difficult to control being not exact than it is filling the entire stencil. So every now and then I just lift it and have a look. I go, oh yeah, okay, that's making a horrific mess. So I'm sort of pulling that off now. And it's not quite going the way I wanted. So this is a bit of a lesson in what to do when things go wrong. But that's okay. Things go wrong all the time with me. So I've just grabbed more paint. What I'm going to do is actually what I should have done in the first place. So I'm just using the edge of my palette knife. And, oh, that's so much better. See, I'm using that to just sort of scratch some lines onto the page. I made a huge mess there. I wonder if I can clean that or if that will be worse. I'm not sure if this is a good idea. I'm trying to grab some of that paint. There we go. Fix that a little bit. I'm going all the way around my box. I'm sort of wondering whether or not I should go on the flower, but I might not. A little bit difficult along the inside of the page. And this is actually going to be covered a lot. So don't stress if it's looking a little bit messy like mine is right now, because it's going to be writing here and I'm going to do some other things over the top of this. And while I've got the painter out, I'm going to just do a sort of a rough border around this text block, using the palette knife again and just dragging the paint along. And I'm keeping it quite thick, so I want that sort of dimensional look. So here and there I've just got these great big blobs of paint, just where it's landed with the palette knife really, and I'm leaving those. So there's kind of texture all the way around it, but it's a texture that I am not controlling. This is why I love using my palette knife. I'm not in control here. It's sort of, things fall where they're supposed to fall and it's not about me. Okay, so that's given the page a completely different look, hasn't it? It's just gone from a thing with pretty flowers to something that's just got a lot more happening. So now this needs quite a bit of time to dry because of the thickness of the paint. So I'll walk away and I'll come back later. Having given the paint time to dry, I now want to do something that's going to kind of bring the flowers and this area together theme-wise. So I'm not sure if I want to use my Posca pen or a gel pen. So I'm starting with a gel pen. Always start with the smallest first, and then if the lines are too thin, then you can go over them or swap over to something thicker rather than starting with something really thick and then going, oh no, it's too dark. And I'm going to I want to do a bit of a floral sort of thing here, but just in black and white. So I'm going to start by just doing very simple sort of scribble flowers, which I do by doing a sort of a spirally scribble and then to sort of scribble on the bottom to sort of give it a bit of depth. So they're just little, basically just scribble flowers. And along the edge here, I might actually swap to the Posca at this point because it will give me a thicker, more solid line. I'm just doing a wavy line and then colouring in kind of little leaf shapes all along it. And I know I've covered over some of the words, but that's okay. I've got most of the block visible. And then I'm going to give it another one. And they're pretty much just scribble shapes, just to give it a kind of whimsical floral look, and it kind of connects what I'm doing here with the larger idea of the flowers, if that makes kind of sense. So I'll just do a few of those here and there. You can keep this as simple as you like or go all out and do heaps and heaps of floral botanical sorts of designs. I just want to keep a little simple black and white over the gold. There is a plan with the flowers, but we'll come back to that. Just a little one here. I don't know if I'm going to regret this because I'm going to have my writing over here. And I'll just do a couple more flowers down here, like little scribble ones. All right, and I might leave it at that. Now, my flowers, I'm going to grab some black paint. Using a hard bristled brush, and this is a dry brush, don't put it into any water. I'm dabbing the black paint onto it, dabbing most of it off onto my palette so I don't have too much. And then we'll start from the top. I am just dabbing along around the outer edge of the center of the flower. And that gives it not only some shadow, but kind of the impression of the pollen and, I don't know, something. This is something I like to do. Now I'm going to do that to the bottom flower as well. Whoops, a bit too much paint there. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is just a me thing. And now grabbing my gel pen, I'm going to sort of scribble around. That one's too thick. That's better. Scribble around the outside of the petals. Now again, you don't have to do this. You might leave your petals as they are. You might want to outline them beautifully and exactly with, you know, precise lines. I kind of like that scribble look. And the same to the bottom one. And now when I get to this petal here that got cut off, I'm actually going to continue it onto this block so that I've got this black and white floral thing happening here is continued with the edge of the petal that is painted outside of the block. I don't know if that's clever or just silly, just something that kind of struck me just now. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is just to write, "He is risen," across here, which I will do in pencil first because I'm not quite sure how it's going to fit. So very often I just go right ahead and do things with my gel pen or paint pen, whatever I'm using, but today I think I better do a bit of a, just check and make sure this will all fit. It'll be something like this. And once I've got those outlines, I'm just colouring in the letters and thickening them up a little bit. Okay, I know I said I was finished, but just one more thing, because I can't help myself. I just want to add a tiny bit of spatter. Now, first of all, a bit of black, and that is simply to pick up on the black of the flower centers that I have smudged with black, and the black and white floral design and the black writing. So I want to pick up on that and add a tiny bit of black spatter, but very, very small amount and very controlled. So I'm covering most of the page with a paper towel. I'm starting with the top. What I really just want to do is put a bit of black spatter on the center of the flowers. So I'm watering down my black paint. And just spattering a tiny little bit here, and then I'm moving to the bottom of the page and once again covering most of the page. Just a bit of spatter like this on the center, and that's all I want with the black. Now the other color I want to spatter is gold, so I can pick up on this gold around the block of text that I have highlighted here and just spread a bit of gold everywhere on the page, especially this area that's got nothing happening. So once again, just a bit of gold on my palette. This time I'm not covering any of the page because I'd be quite happy with wherever this decides to fall. And I want some of it to go on the petals of the flowers. Not too much, but a little bit. I'm focusing especially on that big open area here. A little bit down the bottom as well. Here we go. I could do a bit of pink as well, but I think that might just take it to that level of just having too much going on and too many colours, and then it starts to look a bit like a circus, which is not really my thing. I think I've gone far enough with this. Now I'm going to let that dry, and once it's dry I will go over these words again because there's a bit of gold spatter on them that I don't want. One other thing, I may or may not do a bit of a, well, it started now, so I guess the answer is yes, sort of scribble border around the page. And I should probably wait till the spattering is dry, but just being me, impatient. Just very, very lightly scribbling my way around. You don't have to do this, and you may want to do a nice neat border with a ruler. I I tend to like to do the scribble thing. And I always say put the date on these things. It's so important to date them, that because this does not have any secret journaling or any particular huge significance, I'm not worried about having the exact date, because it's not something that I'm going to look back on and go, oh yeah, on that particular day, if you know what I mean. So I'm simply going to write, I'm being careful not to put my hand into the spatter, up the side here, I'm just going to write Easter 2024. And it's a kind of general date, but that's good enough for me because, again, like I said, there's no secret journaling, there's no great significance to the page. It's just a pretty art page. Sometimes it's nice to do that, just create a page just to offer up something nice and pretty and beautiful, or something. Okay, so that's it. I'm not going to take this video any further. You don't need to watch me going over this writing again. I'm just dabbing little bits of water droplets that I've accidentally dropped on the page and that are starting to melt away at the black marker. So this is it. Once it's dry, I will go over the lettering and my page is finished. So that was my Bible art page for this month's challenge, My Easter Basket. Hopefully you will create one of your own. I'd love to see them. And if you are watching this through my Patreon channel, please be aware there is a new function here called Community. And if you click on Community, I've started a chat there, and anyone who is a member, I don't know if it's open to free members, but paid members certainly have access to this. And the great thing about it is that you can actually share photos now. So if you create this page and would like to share it straight to our Patreon community, you don't have to worry about going to the Facebook group. You can share it directly on my Patreon under the community tab. Otherwise, of course, you are very, very welcome to share your pages anywhere. If you are sharing to your social places, please tag me, George's Bible, so that I can get a notification and come over and have a look. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.